You've seen it before. The smoker who knows cigarettes kill and lights up anyway. The person who preaches loyalty and cheats on their partner. The intelligent adult who believes something that every piece of evidence contradicts. You've probably done it yourself. You just didn't know what it was called. It's called cognitive dissonance, and it is one of the most powerful, most invisible forces shaping every decision you make, every belief you hold, and every lie you tell yourself to sleep at night. In 1957, psychologist Leon Festinger published a theory that would permanently change how we understand the human mind. His claim, the human brain cannot comfortably hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. When it tries, when your actions contradict your values or new information contradicts what you already believe, you experience a state of psychological tension, discomfort, internal friction. Festinger called this cognitive dissonance. And here's the critical part. The brain doesn't respond to that discomfort by finding the truth. It responds by eliminating the discomfort by any means necessary. That means distorting facts, dismissing evidence, rewriting memory, constructing elaborate justifications for things you know on some level are wrong. The brain is not a truth-seeking machine, it is a comfort-seeking machine, and cognitive dissonance is the mechanism it uses to protect itself. Festinger didn't just theorize, he proved it. In a now legendary experiment, he had participants perform a mind-numbingly boring task for an hour, turning pegs on a board over and over, completely pointless. Afterward, he asked some of them to tell the next participant that the task was actually interesting and enjoyable. He paid some people $20 to lie, others just $1. Then he asked everyone how much they actually enjoyed the task. The result was the opposite of what you'd expect. The people paid $20 admitted the task was boring. They had a good external reason for lying, the money, no dissonance. But the people paid only $1? They convinced themselves the task was genuinely fun. Why? Because they couldn't justify lying for almost nothing, so their brain resolved the conflict by changing the belief itself. $1 wasn't enough reason to be a liar, so they decided they weren't lying. That is cognitive dissonance in its purest form. This isn't a lab phenomenon. It runs through every corner of human behavior. In relationships, someone stays with a partner who treats them badly. Deep down, they know it, but leaving would mean admitting they wasted years, that they misjudged someone, that they ignored the signs. That's too painful. So the brain goes to work. It minimizes the bad moments. It amplifies the good ones. It builds a case for staying that sounds reasonable, but is really just self-protection. Psychologists call this effort justification. The more we've invested in something, the more we need to believe it was worth it. In politics and ideology, people don't change their minds when confronted with contradicting facts. They double down. Research from political scientists Brendan Nyhan and Jason Riefler showed that corrections to factual political misconceptions often made people believe the false thing more strongly. They called it the backfire effect. When facts attack identity, the brain doesn't update the belief, it fortifies it. Because admitting you were wrong isn't just an intellectual concession, it's a threat to who you think you are. In health and self-destruction, the smoker doesn't quit. Instead, they tell themselves, my grandfather smoked until 95. Stress kills more people than cigarettes. At least I don't drink. These aren't arguments, they're exits, escape routes from a discomfort the brain refuses to sit with. In everyday choices, you buy something you can't afford. Immediately after, you feel a flash of anxiety. And then, almost automatically, your brain starts generating reasons why it was actually a smart purchase, why you deserved it, why you needed it. Marketers know this. It's why post-purchase rationalization is one of the most studied phenomena in consumer psychology. To understand why cognitive dissonance exists, you have to understand what the brain is actually trying to do. The brain runs on something called predictive processing. It doesn't experience reality directly. It builds a model of reality and constantly tries to confirm that model. Surprise and inconsistency are threats to the system. They cost energy. They create instability. So when new information contradicts the model, the brain faces a choice: update the model or reject the information. Updating the model is expensive. It's uncomfortable. It forces reorganization. Rejecting the information is fast, cheap, and keeps everything stable. Most of the time, the brain chooses rejection. Neuroscientist Drew Weston demonstrated this in brain imaging studies during presidential elections. When partisans were shown contradictory information about their preferred candidate, the emotional centers of the brain lit up, the rational circuits went quiet. And once the dissonance was resolved, by dismissing the contradiction, the brain's reward centers activated. Resolving dissonance feels good. That's the trap. Cognitive dissonance doesn't just affect individuals, it can be weaponized. Cults use it deliberately. The process is methodical. Get someone to make a small public commitment, then a slightly larger one. Each step creates dissonance with the previous identity, and the person resolves it by going deeper, not pulling back. Leon Festinger himself studied this firsthand. He infiltrated a doomsday cult in the 1950s, one that believed the world would end on a specific date. When the date passed and nothing happened, he predicted that rather than abandoning the belief, members would become more fanatical. He was right. They concluded the world had been spared because of their faith. The failed prophecy made them more convinced, not less. This is why cult deprogramming is so difficult, and why propaganda works, and why smart people end up defending indefensible things. The more you've paid in time, identity, relationships, money, the more you need the thing to be true. You can't eliminate cognitive dissonance. It's built into the architecture of the brain, but you can learn to catch it. The first signal is defensiveness. When you feel an immediate, visceral urge to dismiss information before you've even processed it, that's a flag. That's the dissonance resolution system engaging before your rational mind has a chance. The second signal is over-justification. When you find yourself building an unusually elaborate case for something, ask yourself, am I explaining this or defending it? The third is the comfort of confirmation. Notice which information feels good and which feels threatening. The threatening stuff is often more important. Psychologist Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset is relevant here. People who define their identity around being right will protect that identity at the cost of truth. People who define their identity around learning can tolerate being wrong, because being wrong is just new information, not a threat to who they are. The goal isn't to never feel dissonance. The goal is to let it point you toward the truth instead of away from it. Your brain is not on your side, not always. It is on the side of your comfort, your identity, your stability, and it will rewrite reality quietly, seamlessly, convincingly to protect all three. Cognitive dissonance is not a flaw in weak people. It is a feature of every human brain, including yours, including mine. The only advantage you have is knowing it exists. Psychoveil, understanding the invisible to take back control.